This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
The thing about all of this stuff that we're teaching our kids is sometimes it's easier with some kids than others because the temperament is just different. But it's about repetition, and it's about consistency, and it's about you just saying the same thing over and over and over again, not talking too much, but being really consistent when this happens.
Welcome to Season 8 of Flusterclux with Lynn Lyons, where we talk about managing worry, anxiety, and all the other emotions too.
I'm Lynn Lyons. I'm an anxiety expert, author, speaker, and mom. I've been a therapist for 35 years, and I'm still in the trenches with families, helping them navigate daily struggles and big problems. Parenting can be a flusterclux, but we tackle the serious stuff without being too serious.
I'm Robin. I'm Lynn's sister-in-law and co-host, and I'm here to ask your questions.
And I'm Ed, the producer of Flusterclux.
And my brother.
And my husband.
Anxiety is a family problem with a family solution.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, Robin.
So we're full swing in the school year. I think it's time for some listener question episodes. So today we're going to do one, and we have two that I thought were a little tricky for me, but you were like, nope, I got this. So I'm ready to turn this over to you.
All right.
So I'm going to read you the first listener question.
Okay.
Can we talk about very low, nearly non-existent frustration tolerance? I know I need to help my 11-year-old get better at tolerating frustration, but we are both struggling with the how. I need ideas on how to practice and build this skill. I'm a homeschooling mom, and this is getting tricky as the lessons become more difficult. This is a good skill worth learning then, right?
It is, right? And it doesn't surprise me that we're talking about an 11-year-old because this is the time when academics get a little more challenging and even social stuff starts to get challenging. So when you've got a child who tends to be a little bit rigid or has difficulty managing their frustration or their emotions, when you hit 10, 11, especially if we've got a girl who may be starting to go through puberty already, these things tend to intensify. So it's not surprising to me at all that that's what this mom and daughter are experiencing. The interesting part of this question, which I think is where I make my living, is talking about the how. How do you teach frustration tolerance? Now, of course, if people are new to this concept, they might think, well, the way that we help this daughter who gets so frustrated is that we make sure that we set things up so that she doesn't feel frustrated. So somebody might say, well, Mom, when you're doing your homework together, just be very clear about the instructions, make sure that the environment is very calm and peaceful, don't push too much, all of this stuff that says, my daughter can't handle frustration, so we want to make sure that she doesn't feel frustrated. That doesn't work. Now, it's not like we want to put her in situations in which she's going to on purpose feel frustrated, like give her a math problem where there's no answer. But what you want to talk about is the steps that it takes to get from beginning to learn something to feeling more masterful or feeling more proficient. Frustration happens when things aren't going our way, when we're stepping into new territory, so things aren't coming easy to us, when we are rigid in our expectations about how quickly we're going to learn something. That's when frustration shows up. It's a normal part of learning. Think about learning how to ride a bike. There is a lot of trial and error. You're watching other kids ride the bikes. It looks fun. You want to do it. You get on the bike. It doesn't go so well. Maybe you fall down. Maybe you're getting frustrated because your parent is holding the back of the seat. But you keep going and you keep trying. And then ultimately you master the skill. It's the same with academics. If you are homeschooling her, that means that you're also in the role of teaching her a new skill. And this can be super challenging. What I would do is I would take out a piece of paper and I would draw 5, 6, 7 squares, boxes. And I would talk to her about, as you're learning this new skill, as we're increasing the academic challenge, as I'm asking you to do things that are no longer easy for you, we start in this one box over here on the left, and we move through the challenges of each box until we get proficient, until we have some mastery. I would use examples of things she's already mastered.
Be pretty specific about what goes in those boxes.
Say she already knows her times tables, which at 11 she probably does. And maybe you can think back and say, gosh, remember how the sevens were so hard? Because I found the sevens hard, right? That's why I made up that funny thing. Like 7 times 7 is 49. Say what? My kids remember that forever. You can say to her, remember when we were trying to do the 9s, or remember whatever felt challenging. First, we started with the 2s. Those were really easy, weren't they? And then we went to the 5s. Those were pretty easy too. So in that box, you're writing, mastered the 5s table. And then we went to the 9s. And remember, in the 9s, we had that trick we learned where you add the 2 numbers up and it has to equal 9. And that was so frustrating, but you mastered that. And then we got to the 7s. And then in the last box, you're like, now you know your times tables. Anything I ask you now, you got it. Let's think about what we're learning now. Where are we starting? What's the thing that's making you really frustrated right now? What's the skill that you have to build? You go through the first box and you say, okay, let's think about how we're going to get there. And we're going to move through each step. And along the way, you are going to feel frustrated. And then I would ask her, how do you know you're getting frustrated? What do you notice in your body? What do you notice in your brain? What do you notice in your eyeballs? I get the cry feeling. That's what we call it in my family. We don't actually cry anymore, but we feel like crying. Everybody in my family knows what that means. I got the cry feeling. What happens? What behaviors do we see? Do you start holding your muscles really tightly? Do you start gritting your teeth? Do you start calling me names? Do you start refusing to listen to what I say? And then, Mom, when you're identifying those places of frustration, think about something that maybe is not academic. Think about, how did you teach your kids to get dressed? How did you teach them to tie their shoes? Maybe there's some hobby, some sport, something that your daughter does with competence. Maybe she's learned how to ice skate. Maybe she's learned how to knit, crochet. I don't care. Maybe she's learned how to cut the vegetables for a salad. Put it into that same format, because what we're trying to do is completely normalize the movement from one step to another and making room for the frustration that absolutely accompanies that movement.
We're going to take a break and we'll come right back.
All right, everybody, fall is here, and with it comes cooler nights and heartier meals and craving for that something that's just warm and satisfying. That's where HelloFresh comes in, bringing you comforting, chef-designed recipes and fresh seasonal ingredients right to your door. This season, they've taken things to the next level with their biggest menu refresh yet. So say hello to a whole new way to do dinner. I am fresh off the most delicious pork dish. We had a beef dish. The selections, it's hard to make up your mind. So healthy, so easy to prepare. Include your kids in the cooking. It's a great way to get them involved. The best way to cook just got better. Go to HelloFresh.com/Flusterclux10FM now to get 10 free meals plus a free item for life. 1 per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's HelloFresh.com/Flusterclux10FM to get 10 free meals and a free item for life. Hey, when I was little, we had a lemonade stand. And we made so much money on that lemonade stand. We were so smart with our little business. And I think we were smart with our money too. Having parents that talked about money, that gave us money skills, really has served me very well throughout my life. Do you want your kids to be smart about money? I think you do. Acorns Early is the smart debit card and money app that grows kids' money skills as they grow up. You can help your kids learn the value of a dollar. We just did an episode on the importance of contributing in a household, giving kids a sense of how to make and develop good, healthy money habits. Are you ready to teach your kids the smart way to earn, save, and spend? Get your first month on us when you head to acornsearly.com/fluster or download the Acorns Early app. That's 1 month free when you sign up at acornsearly.com/fluster. Acorns Early Card is issued by Community Federal Savings Bank, member FDIC, pursuant to license by MasterCard International. Free trial for new subscribers only. Subscription fee starting from $5 per month unless canceled. Terms apply at acorns.com/early terms. Hey, everybody. The kids are back in school. The vacations are over. It's officially the start of the cozy season, which means you need your Bombas socks and your slippers. They have the most comfortable socks, slippers, tees, and underwear out there. They're made from premium materials like merino wool that keeps you warm when it's chilly but cool when it's hot. Supima cotton, it's softer and stronger and more breathable than regular cotton. And even rag wool, the thick, durable, classic, cozy sock that you'll want all fall. For every item you buy, Bombas donates one to someone experiencing homelessness. Over 150 million items have been donated thanks to customers. If you're not satisfied, 100% guarantee they'll make it right. There's no risk and all reward. I love my Bombas socks. I wear them every time I go to the gym. I love them. I wear them hiking. They last and last and last. In fact, I just got back from a hike wearing my Bombas compression socks. Head over to bombas.com/audio and use code AUDIO for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/audio. Code AUDIO at checkout. Okay, we're back.
I have a question for you that will broaden this one.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think about one of my kids who shall remain nameless definitely shows frustration with academic difficulty when faced with it. But the other thing that you said that I think is worth talking about, because we don't know this daughter, we don't know mom, and sometimes kids just get frustrated when things don't go their own way. And so the mom listening to this has to ask herself, is this specific? Is this pattern specific to academics and difficulty learning? Or does she have a daughter that's really put off by things not going her way, which is also a situation of rigidity? You are a rigid person and you want things to go a certain way. There are plenty of rigid adults in the world, so a lot of people don't outgrow this skill. So the mom and the daughter need to really think about, what is the situation here? What is the friction? And is it limited to academics? Or is this a bigger skill set that her mom has the opportunity to help her with?
Right. And one of the places we see it a lot, and it shows up a lot, and we get a lot of questions about this, is in social interactions. So right now, it may be between mom and daughter because the mom is homeschooling her daughter. But does it show up in other places? When she's with her friends and her friends don't want to play the game that she wants to play, when her friend says something or does something that rubs her the wrong way. How does she tolerate when what she's doing feels frustrating or when somebody else is frustrating her? The goal is not to take away the frustration. And when people say, well, how do we practice building frustration tolerance? It's being in normal everyday situations in which things won't go your way. I remember trying to get my TV remote to work, and I had all these batteries and I couldn't figure out which batteries worked and which didn't. I seriously wanted to just chuck that stupid TV remote into the wall. And I didn't do it. Why? Because I knew that it was frustrating. I knew that I had to problem solve, and I learned and matured so that I didn't have a big, huge emotional reaction. The language I would use is to not talk too much, of course. We know we don't want to talk too much. But the language I would use would be, it is really hard when we're learning something new. To feel frustrated is an absolutely normal way to feel, either when you're learning something new or, like you said, Robin, when something's not going your way. The goal is not to get rid of frustration. It's not to avoid it. It's not to live your life so you never feel this way. The goal is to be able to recognize this as a normal emotion and to be able to feel it and not respond in behavioral ways that cause problems in learning, cause problems in your relationships, cause problems with your friends, cause problems with you trying to figure out how to crochet. How do we take a step back? Maybe she just needs to take a breath. I would also recommend that when she's doing her academics, if she hits that place where you guys can predict that she's going to hit, I would move her body. So she's got to go outside and run around a little bit, do 20 jumping jacks. We focus too much on calming people down when they're frustrated instead of giving them a really productive, active way to burn off some of that juice. But you're exactly right, Robin, is this a problem of rigidity? Is this a problem of not being able to tolerate coming up against anything that feels uncomfortable? Draw the boxes and be very open with your daughter and say, look, part of learning is learning how to tolerate frustration. Part of learning is stepping into the stuff that feels hard. We're going to practice this. When you get to this point, whatever that is, we're going to take a break, but you're going to feel frustrated and I'm going to feel frustrated and we're going to move through it because we're going to move through each of these boxes in order for you to feel masterful. That's what I would say to her.
And if the mom is listening and reflecting and saying, this is a bigger skill that I probably have to focus on, if this is more about things don't go her way and she really starts being very emotional, then wouldn't the mom say, things will not go your way all the time in life. And as your mother, one of the most important skills I can teach you is to accept that things will not go your way in a way that doesn't really derail you, in a way that you can handle, in a way that is really normal, and that eventually you get to the point where you can just shrug your shoulders, give something an eye roll, and move on.
Right. The key thing is we want to say to kids is you can feel however you want to feel. It's what you do next that really makes a difference. You can't behave in whatever way you want to behave. And the goal is to have enough experience and enough practice with things not going your way and with things feeling uncomfortable so that you begin to recognize, okay, I don't like this, but I can handle it. I can move forward, or I can ask for help, or I can take a break, all the different ways that we handle the frustration. And everybody knows the behaviors that are not going to help. Everybody knows that the yelling, the screaming, the calling names, the throwing things, the ripping up the paper, the refusing to listen, we all know those behaviors. You're just going to keep saying, we can feel this way. We're not going to behave this way. And just keep working through. The thing about all of this stuff that we're teaching our kids is sometimes it's easier with some kids than others because the temperament is just different. But it's about repetition and it's about consistency and it's about you just saying the same thing over and over and over again, not talking too much, but being really consistent when this happens.
For the new listeners, I want to bring up 2 points to envelop your advice just now, because you did say don't talk too much. But you also talk about skills. And if people haven't been listening a lot, one of the biggest aha moments I learned from doing this podcast with you is not reducing something to someone's personality. Oh, that's her personality. No.
Mm-hmm. That's just who she is.
Yeah, that's just who she is. No. That's a skill that isn't as easy for her as others are. And so if we think of these skills like a series of emotional muscles, it helps highlight what we as their parents, and then even as adults, I'm still thinking of what emotional skill do I need to strengthen? If you're listening to this, that's like such a huge aha moment to don't just say, my daughter is someone who gets really easily frustrated and that's just her nature.
Right.
Give her the practice to develop into a different nature because people can change this way.
Sure. And it may never come naturally. That's the other thing, too. There are people who are just more easygoing than other people. And there are people who have to work at it more. And we want to make sure that we give kids, particularly those kids that struggle a little bit with it, we want to give them opportunities to develop the skills, especially if they don't come naturally, because they're really going to need them. They're really, really going to need them. And it's possible. Not everybody behaves like a toddler. Why? Because our brain develops, we figure things out, we're able to reason, we're able to have relationships and communicate differently. You can't just give up by saying, yeah, well, that's just the way she is. I mean, look, when you're 50, if somebody blows a top when they get frustrated, you don't have to change that. But when they're 11, you can do the work here. You can do it.
Well, if you're 50 and you're blowing your top off, you need to do the work yourself.
Yes, that's a very good point, Robin. It's an excellent point. The problem is a lot of 50-year-olds that blow their tops don't really think that they're the problem, but that's a whole nother episode. We did an episode a while ago about how difficult it is to deal with blamers that don't take responsibility.
Yeah. At the beginning of the season, I shared I had a meltdown, but I don't have them very often. But I had one. And what did I do after? I didn't take it out on people.
Right.
But I was upset, shared I was upset, probably yelled that I was upset until I could rebalance. I don't expect that to happen again for a while.
Right.
But the point is, even someone who just like works on this stuff all the time, life happens. But like, what do we do after?
Right. How do we own it? Yep.
How do we own it?
Okay, you know that I love accurate information and that I talk all the time about how much bad information there is out there. Masterclass has experts, true experts, that know what they're talking about. It's a great place to go and learn new things, bolster your own learning, get some skills. There is a new class called The Science of Parenting. Lisa D'Amour, one of my favorite colleagues, offers such great information along with other people. There's a cooking class with Alice Waters. I watched the class with Diane Warren about how she creates music, such an interesting insider view into what it takes to be artistic. With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become your best. The plans start at $10 a month, billed annually. You get unlimited access to over 200 classes taught by the world's best business leaders, writers, chefs, and more. With Masterclass, you get thousands of bite-sized lessons across 13 categories that can fit into even the busiest of schedules. Every new membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Right now, our listeners get an additional 15% off any annual membership at masterclass.com/fluster. That's 15% off at masterclass.com/fluster. masterclass.com/fluster.
DSW, Designer Shoe Warehouse, is the one-stop shop for all your footwear needs. With sneakers, boots, and everything in between for every style, mood, and occasion, you'll definitely find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW has what you need, but more importantly, they have what you didn't even know you wanted. You never know what you'll find at DSW. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or DSW.com.
Okay, it's getting colder outside. Calling for those layers, those cozy, warm sweaters, those fall coats that look so fantastic. Luckily, Quince makes it easy to look polished, to stay warm, and to save big without compromising on quality. Think Mongolian cashmere, $50. Or denim. Denim's back, everybody. How about those great coats that you need to look fabulous, but also keep you warm and toasty? If you wear t-shirts like I do, I already have several of their t-shirts. They have a cotton modal scoop t-neck 3-pack, 3 high-quality t-shirts for $36. And Quince partners directly with top-tier ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen. They deliver luxury quality at half the price of similar brands. It's the kind of wardrobe upgrade that feels smart and stylish and effortless. So find your fall staples at Quince. Go to quince.com/fluster for free shipping in your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/fluster to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/fluster. Okay, so now back to the show.
Okay, Lynn, so I have a second question that a listener sent in.
Okay.
Is there a resource about things to say to the worries? I don't get quite stuck on the content of the worry anymore, but whenever my daughter asks for help talking to the storm, the only thing I can think of is, I can handle it. And I'm worried, ironically, I know, it might lose its touch if I use it too much.
Okay. I love this question for a few reasons. One is that this mom is like, yeah, I'm not getting caught in the content. Again, if you're a new listener, that means that you're not really worried about what a child is worried about, the specifics. You're addressing the worry. And if you really are a new listener, and it's important for you to understand the difference between content and process, the difference between the details and the patterns, go back and listen to the 7-episode series we did starting in June of 2022, the Anxiety Disruptor series. That'll catch you up to speed. So we bring that series up a lot because it's so helpful. Okay, so I love that this mom said, I don't get caught on the content anymore. Yay, because that's the hugest challenge. And so fantastic for you. I love that you call it the storm. That's a great name for your worry because clearly it's big and powerful and feels like it takes over. As I was saying when we were talking about the previous question, this is about repetition. So we want to be consistent. We want to keep it simple. We don't want to get caught up in all the details. You are using the phrase, you can handle this, or I can handle this. That's fabulous. I'm just going to give you some other options. You say, I know this is hard, but you got this. This is what your worry does. It is so hard sometimes when your worry shows up, but I know you can step into it. We're not going to do the disorder, are we? That's for older kids who understand what this thing is. Storm wants to be in charge. We're not going to let it work that way. I have seen you handle things like this before. I know you can handle it again. So it's the same stuff. You just change up the words a little bit. You just give a little variety in what you're saying, but you want the message to very consistently say, this is hard. I get that. So you validate this is hard and we can handle it. We're stepping in on purpose because that's how you learn to handle storm. Anything like that. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And it's okay if you're saying the same thing repeatedly. Kids do get frustrated. They go, oh my God, you always say that. Why do you always say that stupid thing? So you can change it up a little bit. You can even say, you know what? This is storm. You got it. Just play around with the words a little bit, but you're absolutely doing what you should be doing. This is repetitious. I say it all the time. My job is really redundant.
I want to push back and ask this, though. So say the mom says, you can handle this.
Mm-hmm.
And she says it a lot. Maybe in a week, she's saying it 10 times, or maybe it's even more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she says it 10 times. But what the daughter or son is doing when they hear that repeatedly and they start to get annoyed by the frequency that they hear that,
Mm-hmm.
why is that such a bad thing? Because A, it sort of interrupts the worry pattern for a second, makes them aware, and it also helps them recognize the repetitive nature of this pattern versus giving them new words to think about for a second. It's almost like, oh no, old friend here, I don't have anything new and enlightening to say because this is the same old shit.
Yeah, that's a good point. And what I'm thinking about as you're saying that is that, I love tennis. And so I've been watching the US Open, which has been on as we've been at while we're recording this. And I used to play tennis. That's why I like watching tennis. And there are just a few phrases that your coach says to you that are good cues for you to do what you need to do. The coach might say, move your feet, or stay down or quiet your head or pay attention to your toss. And you're right, in that moment, when you're being coached, you don't want to hear something new that's completely new. Like, wait, what do you mean? You want to hear something that's familiar and repetitive. So sure, so she can keep saying it. There's nothing wrong with her keep saying it. I'm just saying if you want to change it up a little bit, you can. But you make a good point is that it's a familiar saying that they know is coming and they know what it means. It's sort of like sometimes I have teachers have a signal that they give to kids in a class. So say you've got a kid who's having a really hard time with their anxiety, but a student will say, well, but I don't want the teacher to talk about storm in the class. So they come up with just a little visual. The teacher touches her nose. This is a repetitious cue that pulls you back to where you need to be. So so that's a very good point.
Well, the other thing that you've taught me too is that the goal is when anxiety shows up, there's just enough of a distance that she has that she's annoyed that it showed up.
Yep.
And if she's annoyed that it showed up because, it's this again, my mom just said you can handle it, I'm annoyed now. Well, now she's not worried. She's annoyed. And you're withdrawing from that emotional response and having another one. But it's much easier to get over your annoyance of your worry than to just cease your worry.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm probably thinking of too is that I've worked with plenty of families where they say, I know this is storm, you can handle it. And the kid screams at the top of their lungs, if you say that one more time. So if you get to that point, you can change it up. You can also say to your child, what are the helpful things I say when storm shows up? Have them collaborate a little bit with it. The main theme is don't stop saying it. Whatever it is you're saying, you can change it up a little bit, but don't think you're doing something wrong if you're saying the same thing over and over again. I train a lot of clinicians, I train a lot of therapists, and they will say to me, I've figured this out, like I'm teaching these patterns, I'm teaching this process. What else do I need to do? Or also people say, well, I need more tools in my toolbox. No, you don't. You need a few good tools that work and to use them repeatedly. So it's okay. It's okay. That's what I want this mom to know. She doesn't have to change it up.
So when that little kid, which I know you've had many times in the history of your practice. So when the little kid screams, if you say that one more time, I'm going to lose it. What do you say? Or what does the parent say to that?
So in the office, if they do that, I say, that's okay. I mean, literally, that's what I go, that's okay. Yeah,
that's awesome. I love that.
They make a lot of threats in my office. They're like, if you say that one more time, I'm going to leave this appointment. And I go, that's okay. Yeah, I'm not going to get into a tug of war with them. Yeah, they usually don't leave. They threaten to leave and then they usually don't. Or they come back. Or if I said they're kids that leave and they turn off the sound machine in my waiting room, I can hear them turn off the sound machine in my waiting room. And then I know they have their ear to the door. They're very interested in what we're talking about.
I do love that response because I think that if the mom was like, you can handle it, and the daughter was like, I hate it when you say that, and she goes, that's okay. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Right. Yeah.
I give that an A+ interaction, right? I mean, it's all about normalizing and being able to recognize the emotions we're in so that we can make conscious choices.
Right. And to tolerate them. To be like,
yes.
Yeah, it's all right. You feel that way, that's okay. Yeah. All right. Keep those listener questions coming. I mean, people put a lot of great questions on our Facebook group. I love looking at them. I can't answer them all, but we try and work them into the podcast. And I do answer them sometimes on the group, and then other people chime in. So that's fun too. So yeah, keep the questions coming. I love them. Thanks for listening. And if you found this podcast helpful, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find this information.
And if you'd like to dig deeper on any of these topics, we have specialized playlists on our Spotify profile, and the link is in the show notes. Topics like teens, depression, and OCD. Bye, Lynn.
Bye, Robin.
Doug. Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu? Is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.